president still stand by what he said last year when he said, quote, "I am not the Emperor of the United States. My job is to execute laws that are passed"? Is that still operative?
Absolutely.
Not a king either.
That's right.
I'm not an emperor, I'm not a king. But tomorrow, and welcome to Gimme 5, the president will address the nation in prime time at 8 p.m. Eastern, we believe, and he will announce his executive order on immigration. Now, just how far it'll go, there's all kinds of speculation out there, but nonetheless, he's going to be doing what a year ago he said he did not have the authority, for the most part, to do. So the question from Jonathan Karl was to Josh Earnest, has anything changed? More.
He was asked very specifically about the idea of expanding the deferred action executive order for the Dreamers to their parents. And he said September 17th of last year, Telemundo, very clearly, if we start broadening that, then essentially I would be ignoring the law in a way that would make it very difficult to defend legally, so that is not an option. Is that still operative when the president said specifically that expanding the DACA executive order is not an option because it would be ignoring the law? Does he still believe that?
Well, what about it, Josh? Does he still believe that?
Well, John, I don't want to get ahead of what any sort of announcements that the president may make before the end of the year about executive actions that he may take to fix our broken immigration system. Since this interview aired, the president did direct the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security to conduct a review of the law to determine what, if any, authority he could use to try to fix some of the problems that House Republicans have refused to address. So this is something that has been under consideration for some time by the Attorney General of the United States and by the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Okay, so ever since the president said he's not king or emperor, he's had the great Eric Holder working on this. And maybe they came up with something in the Constitution that said he can be king and emperor. I don't know. Here's more.
So you're saying that this is no longer operative because we've had a review. So when the president said that expanding DACA to apply to the parents of the Dreamers, for instance, would be broadening and essentially ignoring the law in a way that would be difficult to defend legally, that it's not an option, that statement is no longer operative.
Well, what I'm saying is we'll have an opportunity to evaluate the actions that the president has chosen to take after he's announced.
But I'm not asking.
He's still not answering the question. He's tap dancing around the question, which he does so well. So here's some more.
But I'm not asking about the options. I'm just saying, does the president still stand by what he said in that interview in September of last year?
Well, John, obviously there are some things that have changed with this.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Obviously, there have some things that have changed, right? We have been in a situation where the president has ordered a broader, in-depth review of the existing law to determine what sort of executive authority does rest with the presidency to determine what kinds of steps he could take on his own. The other thing that we've seen is House Republicans refuse to act even on common sense legislation that would fix so many of the problems of our broken immigration system.
Of course, it's all the Republicans' fault, and that's the mantra. You know, I begged the Republicans to act. The bill passed the Senate. The House wouldn't bring it up, even though the votes were there to pass it. Blah, 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 blah. So now he could be emperor. Now he could be king. Here's more.
They had already refused to act at this point.
Well, I guess it's fair to say they've been refusing to act for quite some time. At that point, it had only been a few months that they've been refusing to act. Now it's been almost a year and a half.
Oh, so that's what's changed. At the point that the president said he couldn't be emperor and couldn't be king, and couldn't act in this way, it had only been a few months since the Congress had refused to act. Now it's been almost a year and a half. So I see the time limit provision of the Constitution has kicked in, allowing the president to become emperor or king if the Congress doesn't do what he wants him to do within a year or a year and a half. Well, why did they just say so? Why did they just cite the time limit clause in the Constitution that allows the president to act as king if he doesn't get his way? But I believe that provision also says that he has to bang his fists on the table like this. I don't know that he's done that yet. So that might be the legal challenge. Yes. He also has to say wah, wah, wah on the Steve Malzberg Show.